Hi everyone, I'm Fredrik, Product Marketing Manager here at GetAccept, and I'm joined today by...
I'm Björn. I am the Product Manager for our Deal Room module here at GetAccept.
So, new year, new functionality within our Deal Room. Björn, what's the latest?
The latest is a bunch of things, but most importantly, we just released our file sharing feature within the Deal Room. And this feature is something that we have wanted to do from the start, because the goal with the Deal Room is to enable one centralized place for all the communication and information that is shared throughout the deal cycle between a buyer and a seller. So what we have done here is introduced basically a shared folder per room that both the buyer and the seller can upload the files that are required to complete the sales process in a very handy and obvious spot for both. And this is one of those crucial gaps, because if we don't have this functionality in the Deal Room, we are forcing our customers and their prospects to go outside of the room, creating all the problems that email threads and emailing file versions create. So it's hard to find, it's very, very hard to recap if you're joining as a stakeholder later in the process, for example. So you want to achieve this natural one space for files that are related to a specific sales process as well inside the room.
Okay, so as a customer, how should I think about when implementing files within my sales process?
Yeah, I think it will come quite naturally to our customers when they get the hands on this feature, because the feedback that we have been getting is they have these files, or they want to acquire these files from their buyers in their sales process, and they can't do that yet in the Deal Room. It varies naturally from organization to organization, but in our own use case, for example, where we are selling a sales tool to our prospects and buyers, we need to learn about how their sales process is structured and how their organization is looking. And normally that's documented in, for example, the slide decks, for example, or PDFs that are, we just want to be able to ask them the question, hey, can you just upload what you showed through in the meeting, for example, into the room so we can access it? And the positive thing there is that then, for example, if our solutions engineer comes in at a later stage, they have all the information that they need to fully understand, hey, what's going on in this deal and how can I actually provide and enable this deal to go forward. So it's about like creating this natural space of just sharing the files without it becoming an obstacle for either the buyer and the seller.
So how do I get started with files?
You do that through a new other feature that we just released. So now when you go into a room, you have the room settings, but you can find a functionality tab there where you can control which of the major features are actually enabled for this specific room. So this is where you turn on the files feature for a specific room that is already live, or if you want to add it to a template, because you know the process that this template is meant to support always require file sharing, for example. But I want to talk a little bit about this functionality tab in general, because we really want to warrant the buyer experience and not being confused and a bit bloated and overwhelmed when you enter a big room. And we now have released so many big features that it can be quite overwhelming to just enter it. So we enable this functionality toggle for you to really only use the features that are necessary for a specific process, but also gradually introducing features as the process comes along. So maybe you don't need files, for example, immediately when you start out a room with a prospect, but once you get to a specific point, you can enable it. And the same goes for mutual action plan, for example, but also comments in the future.
Thank you, Björn. Thank you for watching. That was what we had in store for this time. Any glimpses into the future, perhaps, Björn? Anything you'd like to share?
Next up for the Deal Room is placeholder elements, which will enable the template creator to guide the sales rep both in terms of variable content that can vary from deal to deal, but also custom content that you can't create beforehand, but you can kind of direct the sales rep in terms of how to use video, for example, or how to upload a specific file that isn't there yet. So nice. A way to guide and structure your sales process.
We're looking forward to that.
Thank you. I am too.